Welcome to Encounter, where we celebrate putting faith into action and community leaders who live out compassion, grace, and love. We're a program of the Broome County Council of Churches that addresses food insecurity through CHOW and the Greater Good Grocery, provides hospital and jail ministry, builds wheelchair ramps, and assists neighbors with transportation and shopping services through Faith in Action volunteers. We invite you to the conversation. Encounter your neighbors as we learn to walk together in love and kindness.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Encounter. I'm your host, Jeff Kellam, Parish Associate at the Union Presbyterian Church in Endicott. Parish Associate means I'm retired, I'm a volunteer there. I want to assure you that this program is produced without any artificial intelligence. It's the real me. No relationship to intelligence whatsoever. Except my guest. My guest is Emily Gold with Pride and Joy Families. Emily Gold, JD, that's not juvenile delinquent.
I hope not.
Okay. And Pride and Joy Families, this is a collaborative community project with Binghamton University. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine Pride has something to do with the gay and lesbian concerns and families who are dealing sometimes with some very dramatic stories within their family life. So let's talk about the organization itself, about empowerment and about communication, but about serving families. Just describe in general terms what Pride and Joy Families is all about.
Absolutely. So we're an organization that's part of the SUNY Research Foundation, and we're housed in the Women's Gender and Sexuality Studies program at Binghamton University. And we basically provide support and resources to support any type of queer family. So whether that's LGBTQ plus adults, both coupled and single, who are parents or looking to become parents, LGBTQ plus youth and parents of youth, and also folks looking to build a chosen family. So we're sort of recognize that chosen family is something that's been really important to the queer community. So we want to basically just provide support and resources to, bring the community together and reduce any type of isolation in Central New York.
Right. We heard you speak at St. Paul's Episcopal Church during a Lenten series, and one of the questions that came up was the use of terms like the word queer. I remember years ago that was a derogatory word mm-hmm. that we didn't use, but now it's owned by gays and lesbians. So tell me about the vocabulary.
Absolutely. So, with anything, queer terminology and LGBTQ plus terminology has changed over the years. So you are absolutely right. Queer used to be sort of a derogatory term, but this is a term that the LGBTQ plus community has reclaimed. So it's sort of an umbrella term to encompass the whole community, every single letter of the alphabet, if you will. So a person can be queer and trans, a person can be queer and a lesbian, and so it is, an acceptable term, and a lot of folks use it as sort of a default and a way to, be inclusive and address the community as a whole.
Right. Remember years ago, I worked with youth back when I was closer to their age, and when a young person would come out to the family, the responses could be everything from, "We're no longer speaking. You're not my son anymore. Mm-hmm. You're not the person that we raised." Someone else would say that they were kind of converted they realize now that this is a problem of the child's humanity, and this is the way the person was created, and now they understand the issue of homosexuality better because it's a family member now. It's not something they read in the headlines or saw about in the news. You must deal with all the different levels of acceptance and non-acceptance.
Absolutely, and I will say, the folks who are quote unquote not accepting, a lot of that comes from sort of a misunderstanding and misinformation. So, a lot of folks say, I don't understand why somebody is queer, I don't understand why somebody is trans, so therefore I'm not going to accept it. Mm-hmm. And to that I say, I don't understand how anybody can be vegetarian. I love my burgers, I love my steaks, but I respect and accept that there are people who are vegetarian, and I respect that. If I invite my vegetarian friends over, I'm not going to serve a filet mignon. So, with queer acceptance, you don't necessarily need to understand the intricacies of being a lesbian or the intricacies of being gay or the intricacies of being trans. You can just accept it, and you can respect it by using, a person's correct pronouns, a person's correct name. And, I encourage folks to do their own research. And, you can contact us if you're interested if you have questions and you want to learn more about queer acceptance in the queer community. But yeah, you don't need to understand it to be radically accepting.
Right. So Pride and Joy Families, this I'm going to read now from the lovely brochure here. We are an organization focused on empowering the LGBTQ plus community in upstate New York and helping LGBTQ plus people achieve their goals for building and sustaining healthy families. Often we think of folks who have come out as being now outside the fold of the family, but this is a way to say we're still family. You're still my daughter, you're still my son. Is this happening in the community level, or are you dealing with individuals for counseling?
All of the above, yeah. So we were originally founded as a lesbian and gay family building project, and our founder, Claudia Stallman, founded it with a group of lesbians who realized there weren't a lot of family planning services specifically for lesbian and gay people. So for same-sex couples looking to have children, whether it's through adoption, fostering, assisted reproduction, anything like that. So they founded that, and come 24 years later, we're sort of expanding the idea of what it means to be a family. So we do still serve folks who are looking to same-sex couples or a queer person who's looking to become a parent. We have support and resources for that, but we're also working with youth. And we're also looking, just to build community and, make sure folks are connected with other queer folks in the area.
Yeah. On the back of one of the brochures, what can I do? We could go through this whole list, but let me just share a couple of these. What can I do? Validate what they're experiencing and express your love. Express gratitude to them for coming out to you. Educate yourself about gender and sexual diversity, and then learn something each time you talk with them. I mean, this is wonderful in any situation to keep an openness and affirm your love for people, as you say, whether they're vegetarian or whether it's a gender issue, or if they've gone into a different religious practice than you're used to. Remain calm when communicating and pause before responding if you feel emotional. I mean, this is wonderful stuff. So tell me how this is communicated within the work of Pride or Joy Families.
Yeah, so we do different community trainings. So, we work directly with the community, but we also train health and human service providers how to support their queer and trans clients and patients. And we do this in part by our Community Health Scholars program. So this is a group of, graduate students at BU and also early career professionals who are in some type of healthcare field. So we have, a clinical psychology student, we have a social work student, we have a medical student, a nurse who's early in their career. And we're a small team, so we use this extra human power to, build LGBTQ plus cultural responsiveness trainings, to build support groups and that type of thing. So, we have that program, and then through Pride and Joy Families, we host community events. We have a group at the library called Rainbow Pride Family Hour, which is once a month on a Saturday. We just get together, we read a story, we do a craft, and it's really just a place for queer youth to come and just be themselves and interact with each other and know that they're not alone and they're not the only queer person in the Southern Tier.
Yes, right. And you were speaking at a church for the Lenten series, so you will work with churches and religious communities as well. Yes,
yeah, more so than I sort of thought when I accepted this position. I'm finding that a lot of churches are leaning more towards becoming more accepting and more inclusive of the LGBTQ plus community. So, I've had a lot of conversations with different churches, and, we're also open to, working with synagogues and working with mosques and basically any faith organization that's interested in learning how they can support their queer and trans participants in their congregation,
Right.
we're happy to have that conversation. We're happy to, talk about how to support, folks in their congregation who identify like that.
Yeah, and the religious communities have a variety of stances depending on the denomination. For some, a person in the LGBTQ plus community wouldn't even be welcome at worship. For others, they're ordaining folks to the ministry or to religious work. So it varies, and I'm sure that there's a lot of confusion within folks in the pews about what their church stance is and how welcoming they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a quick story when Matthew Shepard was killed.
Mm-hmm.
I was serving a small community, a small church in northern Vermont, and I said, let's think about the funeral for Matthew. When Matthew Shepard is, I use the right name, right?
Yes.
Not Matthew Perry, Matthew
Yes.
Shepard. When Matthew Shepard was killed, there was that Baptist group of independent Baptists who came and this is not a reflection on all Baptists, please. It's that group from Kansas, I think, that picketed and said hateful and awful things across the street from the funeral. And I said, well, okay, now for my congregation, where are you going to be at that funeral? Will you be over across the street holding up a sign? Will you come to the church and participate? Will you go and sit in the front pew with Matthew's mother? Mm-hmm. And where's Jesus going to be? Mm-hmm. I don't have any doubt he's going to be right there in that front pew. Mm-hmm. This idea of our openness and our acceptance and our compassion for people we don't understand or whom we know intimately from our own family relationships, it seems to me this is something we all have to think about. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate the work that your group does in helping us think about it, helping us talk about it, and helping us accept family members especially. What moved you into this work?
So I have my JD from Suffolk University Law School, and I was working with Legal Services of Central New York for a little bit, and then I was, sort of looking for a little career change, and I found this organization, and I've always wanted to be an advocate. From the early high school days, working on different political campaigns, and then working in community health and that type of thing. So I feel like this position sort of meshed all of my interests and all of my skills.
Yeah.
I feel really, really lucky and really privileged to be able to be the project lead of this organization. And I'm a member of the community. I'm a lesbian, so being able to advocate for my community and get to meet more people in my community, and it's been a real privilege.
Yes, right. Our guest today is Emily Gold, and she is the project lead for Pride and Joy Families. Do you teach at BU, or are you mostly guiding this project?
Good question. I don't teach. I'm not, professor. I'm not, I don't. I don't teach at BU, but I just run this organization. So we're through the SUNY Research Foundation, but sort of housed at BU. So we don't, we're lucky enough to be on the BU campus, so that we have access to graduate students who are in these fields, and we can really work with professionals before they even start their career to understand these LGBTQ plus cultural responsiveness, and work with them and make sure that when they go out into the field, they know how to work with their queer and trans clients.
And you're not in some ivory tower over there at the university. You're working with students at the university, not only in terms of teaching, but I would imagine general support.
We've done a lot of collaborations with the Q Center. So the Q Center is sort of the LGBTQ plus support resource center for queer students. So we're not technically a direct student organization, but we have worked with the Q Center, and we're working more with the Q Center to provide spaces for students to come and just talk about current events and talk about the scary things that are happening in the queer community, and sort of facilitate some of those conversations. And we've also we've done trainings together, and we're not a direct university resource, but we do recognize that we're part of the university community. So we definitely want to give back and create a space for students to, come and ask their questions.
Sure. So among the things that are offered by Pride and Joy Families, I see training, community events, educational resources, referrals, and a provider directory, and family support groups. Let's start with the family support groups. Tell me some of the stories that would be connected with what you do to support families.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're working a lot with families one-on-one. We were, unfortunately, we lost funding from 2018 to 2023. And as of May 2023, we were refunded, we're back. So we're at a very unique sort of regrowth part in our timeline.
Yeah.
So it's been really great to sort of build different programs. So we've worked a lot with families one-on-one, and we're looking to, in the fall, set up some support groups. So we're getting a Master's of Social Work field placement student at our organization, which will be great. So we're gonna, start some support groups for, parents who are trying to, for folks who are trying to become parents, for youth, for LGBTQ folks at the university, different stuff like that. So we're in the process of sort of building those support groups.
Right. Let's talk about a website now, so that if folks are listening or watching, they want more information. Where can they find a connection?
Absolutely. We're just at Pride and Joy Families. It's through the Binghamton University. Sorry, I'm coming from Boston, so it's been there's another BU in Boston.
Right,
so
that's right.
So it's through the Binghamton University website. You can find us there. So I think if you just Google Pride and Joy Families Binghamton University, you should be able to find us.
It'll take you right there.
Yeah.
And you'll find the connection then to all the services that are being offered. You may not be the speaker. When I saw you at that church, you brought 2 students with you, and I was so impressed with their poise and their listening skills and the questions that came from the church group. The questions about accepting trans family members, and the use of pronouns. I think that was the other question. That why do we have to worry about pronouns? But these are serious issues that are of importance, not just to the church people who were there that night, but to families who are wrestling with this. So let's ask a couple of these questions. Now, I want to talk about, do not try to change or dismiss their identities. People try to dismiss not just the identity, they dismiss you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and I find that especially with young people when they come out, whatever their identity may be, sometimes the adults in their life are like, it's just a phase, or this will pass, or you're just confused. And kids aren't confused. Kids know themselves. Kids know themselves better than we know them. So, if a kid comes to you and says, I'm trans, I want to be a boy, or I want to marry a girl when I grow up, it's best to accept that. And of course, identities can shift and change over time, but at that moment in time, they're telling you that they're identifying as trans or gay or lesbian. And you just need to sort of accept that and work with them as they develop their identity over time. So it might change, but chances are they're part of the LGBTQ plus community, and we're happy to have them.
Yeah, they're in touch with themselves, and,
yes.
and we don't always know what's going on inside the heart or the mind. I know that when there was some conversation about a welcome center on State Street, I guess, that there were people who thought that children were being converted.
No, we don't convert folks. We don't recruit folks. We advertise our services, but we're not targeting folks. We're open to all queer folks, all trans folks. And we work with children, we work with adults, but we're not converting folks. And, the Identity Youth Center does not convert folks. Folks come to us and tell us how they identify, and we radically accept that. So we're not trying to make everybody gay. We just, the people who identify as part of this community, we want to provide support to them. So absolutely, we're here whoever needs us.
Those who are most worried about conversion, I think you turn it around and say, well, how easy would it be to convert you? You say, well, no. And, well, so no, it's not recruitment, it's not conversion.
And I feel like a lot of people, as certain as some people are that they're straight and cis, these youth and these people are certain that they're queer and trans. So it's just a natural part of their identity, and it's not something to be ashamed of, and it's not something to denounce.
Now you use the term cis, CIS.
Yes.
Describe what cis means.
So cis means that I identify with the gender that I was assigned at birth. So my gender assigned at birth was female, and I identify as female. I use she, her pronouns. I was born using she, her pronouns, and I still use she, her pronouns. So that's, sort of a way to identify. It's an adjective, so I'm a cis woman. Right. A trans woman might have been assigned male at birth, and then over time, started to transition to become a woman. And I shouldn't say become a woman, because trans folks are born trans, and they're born as their gender identity, and they might just be in the wrong body, they might be assigned the wrong pronouns, but they're definitely born that way, and they might come out over time. But that's, sort of the differentiation between cis and trans.
A lot of kids have been trained to go to the library to find out information about life, about their social life, about civic responsibilities and so on. And nowadays, libraries are banning books that would be supportive of helping kids read more about the way they're feeling or their friends are feeling. If they want to find out why their friend Bob is not comfortable in his own body or whatever, we're having some issues with libraries and books.
And it's a shame that these different identities are being censored, and young people aren't able to sort of see themselves in the book. And I can't remember who originally said this, but kids can't be what they can't see. I did not create that quote. That is a famous quote that I just am blanking on who said that first.
It was probably George Carlin.
Kids can't be what they can't see. So if they're not told that, sometimes girls want to marry girls, and that's okay, then they might think they're different, and they might think they're wrong in some way. But once they identify that I am not alone in this, other people, other girls want to marry girls, other boys feel like they're a girl, there's such a rich LGBTQ plus community around here, and it's just a matter of connecting folks to the different parts that they can see themselves in.
Sure. We can talk about this on an intellectual level or a mental level, but a lot of this is the heart, especially if you're talking about family. That's a heart word, and I'm thinking of trying to support a family that wants so much to accept and to love. But really needs some handles, and that's one of the things that your organization is designed to support.
Absolutely. Let's have a conversation. Where we're not here to shame anyone, and we understand that everybody is coming to us with a different sense and a different understanding of the LGBTQ plus community. So we're happy to have those conversations and field those questions. And, I'd say contact us, have those conversations with us, ask us those questions, so that when you're in the community and working with, a trans child, or, your granddaughter who just came out as a lesbian, you don't make those harmful mistakes. So make those mistakes with us. We'll tell you the right terminology to use, and show you how to be accepting. And then, when you're in a place where you can, really make a difference with people that you love, you don't make those mistakes.
Yeah, and because those mistakes can be lifelong.
Yeah, absolutely. They can have a huge impact.
You build a wall that gets taller and taller and taller as you close yourself off to total acceptance and love and compassion for another person. And it's awfully hard to start dismantling that wall. Where do you start, though? Let's say there is a wall in a family. What are you going to do to help tear that wall down? Not you personally.
Yes. When I, start working with folks who may sort of be on the fence with these issues, I sort of like to hear where they're coming from, and, view it as from sort of an educational standpoint to sort of educate folks about my community and about, what we sort of stand for. So, again, we're not here to shame folks. We're not here to cancel folks. We're not here to reject folks. We're just here to have a conversation. Because at the end of the day, we want the world to be accepting and a safe place for all queer and trans folks. And having these conversations is sort of where we start that journey.
Yeah. To help it not be a threatening conversation, but to be a helpful one in terms of our openness and our understanding. Again, our guest is Emily Gold, who is the project lead for Pride and Joy Families. And once again, you can find, if you Google Pride and Joy Families, Binghamton University, that will take our viewers and listeners to your website, where they can find all the different programs and connections. What you do matters is on the sheet that I'm holding here. Increase self-esteem, promote healthy coping, improve future relationships, reduce mental illness, strengthen communication. Man, this is heavy lifting. And you're not doing this by yourself. Describe your team again.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the project lead. We have a health educator, Adam, who actually predates me. He started his role before I even started my role. So he's been great. He really hit the ground running and is doing really great trainings with foster grandparents, with different classes at Binghamton University. He's really a great asset. And about 2 months ago, we hired a program coordinator, Kaya, who, I'm sorry, I should mention, Adam is a community research and action PhD student, right. And Kaya is a political science PhD student. And she's been, she, again, hit the ground running, really picked up on things fast, and is really, both of them are such a great asset
Right.
To our organization.
Right.
And we also have one principal investigator, Sean Massey, who's a professor at Binghamton University, and then 2 co-principal investigators, Dara Silberstein, who is also a professor at BU, and Sarah Young, who used to be a professor at BU but now works at Cornell Medical School.
Investigators? What are they investigating?
So as part of the SUNY Research Foundation, we work with professors. You can sort of think of them as like board members or consultants, and they sort of guide us
right.
through navigating running a nonprofit.
Yep.
So they've been very, very, very great at working with me and making sure that I know how to run things.
Yeah. Some faith communities are very open to the conversation, and others are very closed. And I would say even if your faith community is closed, it would be worth having a conversation at least, and inviting Pride and Joy Families to come and have a conversation with you. Our guest today has been Emily Gold. She is the project lead for Pride and Joy Families. And you can find her again through Googling Pride and Joy Families, Binghamton University, and you'll find lots of ways to find information and to get in touch, to find support and encouragement for those who are going through sometimes very challenging times. Thank you for joining us for the Encounter program this week. It's produced by the Broome County Council of Churches. I'm Jeff Kellam, Parish Associate at the Union Presbyterian Church in Endicott, hoping that in the coming week you will be gentle with people and with yourself.